Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back with me, Miss Ira, in the presentation of CEFR. Today we are going to talk about Chapter 4. Chapter 4 about language use and the language user or learner. All right, I'm going to present it. Yeah, everyone. We are going to talk about the context of language use. The second is communication themes, and then communicative tasks and purposes, and then communicative language activities and strategies. The next is communicative language process, and also text. The first one is the context of language use. The first one is domain. There are 4 domains for general purposes of language learning and teaching. The personal domain, which the person concerned lives as a private individual, centered on home life, with family and friends, and engaged in individual practices, such as reading for pleasure, keeping a personal diary, and pursuing a special interest or hobby, and etc. And then the public domain, in which the person concerned act as a member of the general public or of some organization and is engaged in transactions of various kinds for variety purposes. And then the occupational domain, in which related with the occupation or profession, engaged in his or her job. Okay. And then the last is the educational domain, which is concerned engaged in organized learning, especially within an educational institution. And then the second one is situation. In each domain, the external situation which arise may be described in terms of first, the location. The second, institution or organization. The third, the person involved. The fourth, the object. The fifth, the events that take place. And then the sixth, the operation performed by a person involved. And the last is the text encountered within the situation. And then C, condition and constraints. The external condition under which communication occurs impose various constraints to the user or learner and his or her interlocutors. For example, physical conditions for speech and for writing. For speech, there are clarity of pronunciation, ambient noise, interference, distortions, and the last is weather condition. For example, just like the ambient is in trains, aircraft, static, and interference is crowded street, in a crowded street, in a market, in the public parties. And then distortions for telephone lines, radio reception, public address system, and the weather conditions is wind, extreme cold, rain, and etc. And then for writing, poor reproduction of print, and then difficult handwriting, and then poor lighting, and etc. For social condition, number and family intercalators, and then relative status of participant, presence, and then social relationship between participants. And then time pressure, different pressure for the speaker and leader, and then preparation of time, limitation on time load, and then other pressures. Okay, this is the example of each domain with a location, institution, or organization, persons, object, events, and then operations, and the last is text. The example from personal domain, public domain. For example, in personal domain is the location is at home, at rooms, at the garden, on own space, in a hotel, And then for the public, it's in the public spaces, for example, street, square, park, the public transportation, shop, supermarket, and etc. Okay, and the instruction, person, object, event, operation, and text. It switches with the domain. Okay, if personal, it means that, for example, the operation is in the living routine, and then the event is family occasion, just like that. In the public, just suitable with the domain. And then occupational and educational. Here it is, the location, the example of location tough. Occupational is like in the office, factories, and then airports, and then store, shop, etc. And then educational is just like at school, at the hall, classroom, playground, cafeteria, college, university, lecture centers, and etc. And then the user or learner's mental context. Okay, the user or learner's mental context. The external context is filtered and interpreted through the users. There are 5. Perceptual apparatus, attention mechanism, long-term experience, affecting memory, associations, and connotation. The 4th is practical classification of objects, event, and etc. And the last is linguistic categorization. And then the factors influence the user's observation of the context. The extent to which the observed context provides the mental context for the communicative event is further determined by consideration of relevance in the light of users. Okay, the first one is intention, the second is line of thought, and then the 3rd is expectation, the 4th is selection, the 5th is needs, drives, motivation, and interest. And the 6th is condition and constraints, and the last is state of mind. Okay. See the mental context of intercalator study. Before we talked about the mental context of the user or learners, and now the mental context of the intercalators. All right, this part talk about communication gap. And how to understand the intercalator's mental context. We learn to what extent the learners will need to adjust to the intercalator's mental context and how learners can be best prepared to make the necessary adjustment. And the second subchapter is communication themes. Okay, themes or topics. Talk about themes or topics. They are the subject of discourse, composition, reflection, and composition as the focus of the attention, in particular communicative act. Okay, thematic categories can be classified in many different ways. Okay, one influential classification into themes, and specific notions is that presented in threshold level at 1990. Okay, just for example, personal identification, house and home, environment, daily life, free time, entertainment, travel, and then relation with the other people, health and body care, education, shopping, food and drink, and then services, places, language, and also the weather. In each of these thematic areas, subcategories are established. For example, area 4. What is area 4? 4 is free time or entertainment. The subcategories of free time or entertainment is leisure, hobbies and interest, radio and TV. We can listen to the radio and watch the TV. And then cinema, theater, concert, and etc. At the free time, we can also visit the museums, exhibitions, and then intellectual artists and pursuits, and then we can do sports at our free time, and then press. All right. For each theme-specific notion are identified. In this respect, the categories represented in Table 5, covering the locations, institution, etc., to be treated are particularly relevant. All right. And subcategory 4.7, sports. 4.7, sports. Threshold level specifies the versus location. For example, at field, ground, stadium, we can do sport at the stadium, right? And then the institution and organization, for example, sport and team. And then persons, player, the person who do sports called player, okay? And then object, cards and ball, even race and game. And the last is action, to watch or to play, plus the name of the sport. For example, to play basketball, to play tennis, to play baseball, just like that. To race and then to win, to lose, to draw. And that's chapter 3 is communicative task and purposes. All right, communicative task and purposes. Acts of communication with one or more interlocutors are generally undertaken by a language user in pursuit of his or her needs in a given situation. In the personal domain, the intention may be to entertain a visitor by exchanging information on families, friends, likes and dislikes, to compare experiences and attitudes, etc. In the public domain, it will usually be to transact business, say to buy clothes of good quality at reasonable price. In the occupational domain, it may be understand new regulations and their implication for a client. And then in the educational domain, it may be contribute to a role play or a seminar or write a paper or a specialized topic for a conference or a publication, and etc. And then the need analysis and language audits have produced an extensive literature on the language using task. A learner may be equipped or required to tackle in order to deal with the exigencies of the situations. And then communicating at work. As temporary resident, learners should be able to seek the work permits, inquire, and then write letters, understand and following joining procedures, and then understand and ask questions concerning the task to be performed at starting work, report an accident, make use of welfare facilities, and then communicate appropriately with the supervisors, colleagues, and subordinates, and then participate in the social life of the enterprise of institutions. Next, in the educational domain, it may be helpful to distinguish between the tasks which learners are equipped or required to tackle as language user and those in which they engage as part of the language learning process itself. Okay, for example, types of tasks, input, activities, roles, and monitoring roles of participant, both, in the task themselves and in task planning management, and the last is monitoring and evaluation. Okay, this is the lytic uses of language. There are social language games, individual activities, and verbal checking like punning and etc. For social language games, oral, written, audiovisual, board and card games, and then charades or miming. For individual activities, just like play puzzles and then media games, watching TV or on the radio. And then verbal joking advertisement, for example, for a car, make your money go a long way. Newspaper headlines and family names are best. And gravity and grammar rules, and etc. And then the aesthetic use of language, aesthetic use of language, aesthetic activities may be productive, receptive, and interactive, or mediating and maybe oral or written. The activities are singing, listening, reading, writing, and speaking, maybe or performing script and unscript plays. And then the production, reception, and performance of literacy text. Literary text, for example, reading and writing text, just like short stories, and then novels, poetry, and etc. And performing and watching and also listening the recited drama or opera. And number four is communicative language activities and strategies. Okay, to carry out the communicative task, users have to engage in a communicative language activities and operate communication strategies. Many communicative activities such as conversation and correspondence are interactive. Interactive, that is to say, the participant alternate as producer and also receivers, often with several turns. All right. And then the question is, what is strategies? All right, strategies are means the language user exploit to mobilize and balance his or her resources to active skills and procedures, okay, in order to fulfill demands the communication in context. And successfully complete the task in question in the most comprehensive or most economical way feasible depending on his or her precise purpose. Next is the use of communication strategies. The use of communication strategies can be seen as the application of the metacognitive, just like pre-planning, execution, monitoring, and repair action in different kinds of communications, like reception, interaction, production, and mediation. All right, next is productive activities and strategies. Okay, productive activities and strategies include both speaking and writing activities. In speaking or oral production, the language user produces an oral text which is received by an audience of one or more listeners. For example, public address, addressing audiences, speeches at public meeting, university lectures, sermons, entertainment, and etc. Okay, they may be in full, for example, reading written text aloud, and then speaking from notes, acting out rehearsal role, speaking spontaneously, and singing. All right, then illustrative skills are provided for overall spoken production, sustained monologue, describing experience, and then creating a case, just like debate, public announcement, addressing audiences. Okay, we are going to see the table. All right, the table, overall spoken language. In each level, from C2 until A1, this is the description. Can produce clear, smoothly flowing, just like the example before, yeah? The explanation before. Sustained monologue describing experience from C2 until A1. Okay, this is the description describing experiences, yeah. And then this is for A2 and A1, and then putting a case or in debate. Sustained monologue, putting a case or in debate. This is for C2. These are the description for C2 until A1. And then public announcement. This is the table for addressing audiences. And then All right. In written production or writing activities, the language user as a writer produce a written text which is received by a readership of one or more readers. For example, completing forms of questionnaires, and then writing articles or magazines, and then producing poster, writing reports, making notes, and then taking down message, and then creative and what is it? Imaginative, yeah, maybe imaginative writing, and then writing personal business letters. And then illustrative skills provide for overall written production, creative writing, and then reports and essay. This is the table for these, for those. Okay, these are the description for overall written production. This is for creative writing. This is report and essays. And then the next is production strategies involve mobilizing resources, balancing between different competences. The first is planning, rehearsing. The second is execution. The third is evaluation and repair. And then in planning, rehearsing, we should look at resources, considering audience, and then task adjustment, and then message adjustment. In the execution, compensating, and then building on previous knowledge, and then trying out. And then evaluation and repair, monitoring success and self-correction. Okay, this is the illustrative skills for planning. These are the description for C2 until A1. Compensating, the description from C2 until A1. And the next is monitoring and repair. These are the description for C2 until A1. And then receptive activities and strategies. These include listening and reading activities, right? There are three: oral reception or listening, visual reception or reading, and audio visual. Okay, oral reception or listening. This is activities the language user as listener receive and process a spoken input produced by one or more speakers. Again, then visual reception or reading. This is activities that user as a reader receives and process an input written text produced by one or more writers. And the last is audiovisual. Audiovisual reception. The user simultaneously receives an auditory and visual input. This is receptive activities, yeah. And the example: listening to public announcement, listening to the media, listening as a member of a live audience, and then listening to overhead conversation, and then reading for a general orientation, reading for information, and then reading and following instruction, reading for pleasure, and then audiovisual, following a text, watching TV, video, or a film, using the new technologies just like multimedia, CD-ROM, and etc. This is the reception strategies. Reception strategies divided into three: planning, execution, evaluation, and repair, just like I explained before, yeah? And the planning consists of forming, and then execution consists of identifying cues and inferring from them. The evaluation is hypothesis testing, matching cues and schemata from the execution, yeah? And then the last is repair, revising hypothesis. This is the interactive activities and strategies: spoken interaction, written interaction, face-to-face interaction, using machine. This is the example of each interactive activities. All right, you can read it here. And then the next is interaction strategies. Interaction strategies also divided into four: planning, execution, evaluation, repair. Consists of peace, okay, planning, farming, identifying information, touching, and then planning moves. And then execution consists of taking the floor, cooperating, interpersonal, cooperating, ideational, and then dealing with the unexpected, and then asking for help. Evaluation, monitoring, schema or praxiogram, and then monitoring evac, also success. Again, the repair. Asking for clarification, giving clarification, and communication repair. And then the next is mediating activities, oral and also written mediation. Okay, oral mediation, simultaneous interpretations like meetings and then conference, speech, and then consecutive interpretations, just like speeches of welcome, guided tours, and then formal interpretation of foreign visitor in our country, native speaker when abroad, in a social and transactional situation for friends, family, clients, foreign guests, and etc. of signs, menus, and notices. For written mediation, exact translation, literacy translation, summarizing gist, and also paraphrasing. This is the mediation strategies. Planning, execution, evaluation, and repair. Okay, you may read here. Developing background, locating supports, preparing a glossary, considering intercalars needs, and then selecting unit of interpretation, reviewing, nothing, possibilities, bridging gaps. This is the execution stage here. And then the checking conquer of the version, checking consistency of usage. This is part of evaluation. And the last is repair, refining by consulting dictionaries or thesaurus, and then consulting expert and sources. This is nonverbal communication. Practical action, kind of language activities. Okay, the first is pointing, the second is demonstrations, and the last is observable actions. Okay, pointing by finger, pointing by hand, glance, and nod. It's not. Okay, these actions are used to with take test for the identification of object, persons, etc. Such as, can I have that one? Can I have that one? Okay, no, that one. Just like that. The demonstration accompanying and simple present verbs and proverbs such as I take this and I fix it there. Now you do the same. Okay, observable as no and narrative command orders and such as don't do that. Okay, just like this. And then the paralinguistic body language, and then extra linguistic speech sounds, and then prosodic qualities. For body language, it's like gesture, just like this. I move my hand like this. This is a gesture. And then facial expression is just like smile. Okay. And then eye contact, I do it with you. Eye contact. And then body contact. And then proxemics. For extra linguistic speech sounds, just like shh, requesting silence. And then expressing public disapproval. No, just like that. Disapproval. And then, oh, ew, expressing disgust. And then expressing disgruntlement. And then just like tat-tat or no, just like expressing polite disapproval. Okay, and then prosodic qualities. Voice quality, just like rough, breathy, piercing, and then pitch, growling, whining, screaming, loudness, whispering, murmuring, and shouting, etc. And the length is a very good, for example. Good job, just like that. And then paratextual features, illustration, for example, photographs, drawing, and etc. And then charts, tables, diagrams, figures, and etc. And then typographic features, just like font, page, spacing, underlining, layout, and etc. And the fifth is communicative language processes. Okay, communicative language processes. To speak, the learners must be able to plan and recognize formulated linguistic utterance and then articulate the utterance. To write, the learners must be able to recognize and formulate the message, handwrite or type the text. Okay, to listen, the learner must be able to perceive the utterance and then identify the linguistic message, and then understand the message, interpret the message. And then to read, the reader must be able to perceive the written text, recognize the script, and then identify the message. What the reader wants to tell us. This is the message of the book, maybe, or text. And then interpret the message. Next, communicative language processes, just like planning, execution, monitoring. All right, you can read here. Okay. And the last is text. Text. The first is text and media. Every text is carried by a particular medium, normally by sound waves or written artifacts. And then media include voice, telephone, video phone, teleconference, just like this. This is a teleconference. And then public address system, radio broadcast, TV, cinema, films, computer, videotape, print, manuscript, audio tape, and etc. And then the text type is spoken text and then written text. Spoken for public, for example, public announcement and instruction, public speeches, lectures, presentations, just like this, yeah. And then entertainment, just like drama, shows, readings, the sports, just like football, cricket, baseball, horse racing, okay. And then written is, for example, write books, fiction and non-fiction, including literary journals, magazine, newspaper, and DIY. All right. This is the table. Production, text and activities, speaking. So user makes sound waves to the listener. So listener catch the sound waves. And then writing, user written the text, and then the what is it? The written production come to the readers, okay? And then this is the reception. And this is the introduction. And then this is the table for mediation. And that's all. Wow, it's so long. You got it, everyone? You got all of them? All right, that's all that I can explain at the fourth chapter of CEFR. I hope that all of them will be useful for all of us. Thank you for watching. And then see you on the next chapter. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.